Can Zhen Huan, blessed with both beauty and talent, truly outshine all in the imperial harem and enjoy everlasting favor? On the day I first entered the palace, the weather was exceptionally clear. It was the 20th day of the 8th lunar month in the 12th year of Qianyuan, a day considered auspicious according to the traditional Chinese almanac. Standing in the vast courtyards of the Forbidden City, one could see the brilliantly clear sky, a deep blue like a flawless jade, unmarred by even a whisper of cloud. Occasionally, flocks of wild geese would fly past in formation. The flight of wild geese is often taken as a very auspicious sign. Outside the Yuxiang Gate, numerous carriages were lined up in perfect order, each ready to bring a maiden to the selection process. Everyone present maintained a profound silence, an air of anticipation hanging heavily. I stood among maidens from all corners of the land, a dense crowd where beauty abounded in varying shades of youth and elegance, their perfumes mingling in the air. Few among us spoke. Most were preoccupied with ensuring their makeup and attire were flawless, or covertly sizing up the competition with furtive glances. Selection into the palace was a fate many an official's daughter faced. A triennial event where young women of unmatched beauty and talent were chosen to join the imperial harem. For me, however, this selection held little weight. I was there merely to fulfill a quota before returning home. My father often said that I, having been pampered too much, would find the strictures of palace life unbearable. Better she marries well and lives in peace, he would say. My mother always insisted that someone of my appearance and background, not to mention character and education, deserved nothing but the best suitor. I shared this belief. I, Zhen Huan, deserved to marry the finest man in the world, to live a life of serene happiness until old age. I couldn't afford to sell myself short. And yet, the emperor, despite his dominion over all under heaven, was not necessarily the finest man in my eyes. At the very least, he wouldn't be able to devote himself to me alone. Thus, I didn't put much effort into my appearance. My makeup was applied lightly, and I wore a simple light green palace dress embroidered with clouds and geese, made of finely picked silk. The outfit, both in style and color, was modest and unassuming, neither too lavish nor too plain. A fresh white hibiscus flower adorned my hair at a slant, and the only other ornament was a delicate jade hairpin, its tassels of fine silver beads lending a subtle indication of my status, ensuring I wouldn't be easily overlooked. With such a minimal effort on my part, I was merely waiting for the emperor to discard the token, signifying my non-selection. The selection took place in the Yangyi Hall of the Changchun Palace, within the inner sanctums of the Forbidden City. Maidens were grouped in sixes, each group led by a eunuch to be presented before the emperor. The rest awaited their turn in the east and west warming pavilions of the palace. The procedure was simple. Bow to the emperor and empress, stand and await instructions. Sometimes the emperor would engage in brief conversation, other times not. After a token acknowledgement, it was his prerogative to discard the token for rejection or retain for further consideration. Those retained would stay with their families until an auspicious day was selected for their formal entry into the palace as concubines. The emperor had already conducted a grand marriage ceremony and had his share of favored consorts. This selection process was merely to expand the pool of potential concubines to ensure the continuation of his lineage. Among the sea of maidens, only Shen Meizhuang, the daughter of the governor of Jizhou, Shan Zishan, was familiar to me. Our family's residences in the capital were adjacent to her maternal home, and we had grown up together, our bond deeper than that of ordinary friends. Spotting me from a distance, she approached with a smile, took my hand, and expressed her concern with evident joy. Huan, knowing you're here puts my mind at ease. My grandmother mentioned you'd caught a cold. Are you feeling better now? I rose and replied, it was nothing serious, just a slight cough. I'm already much better. You must have had a tiresome journey, sister. She nodded, giving me a thorough look before complimenting with a smile. You've dressed quite simply today, which only serves to highlight your natural beauty even more, truly distinguishing you from the rest. I blushed, responding shyly. Sister, aren't you the true beauty here? Such compliments might just embarrass me. She merely smiled and playfully stroked my cheek without replying. Observing her more closely, I noted her attire. A rose-purple top embroidered with chrysanthemum patterns and a moon-white pleated skirt. Her jet-black hair styled in an elegant updo adorned with a golden phoenix hairpin, a golden floral forehead ornament, and the sparkle of ruby earrings, all contributing to her dignified and serene aura. With a smile, I couldn't help but express my admiration. It's only been a few days, but you've become even more beautiful. The emperor is sure to take notice. Mei Zhuang gestured for silence with a finger to her lips, whispering, "We must be cautious with our words. This year's selection is highly competitive, and my appearance is quite ordinary. There's no guarantee of being chosen." Acknowledging my faux pas, I refrained from further comment, instead engaging her in casual conversation about familiar matters. Suddenly, a loud clatter from a distance interrupted us, the sound of a teacup hitting the ground. Mei Zhuang and I ceased our chat and looked towards the noise. We saw a woman in dark green satin, adorned with pearls and jade, furiously gripping another maiden while scolding. "Are you blind? Spilling scalding tea on me, do you wish to die? Which family's maiden are you?" The maiden, being accosted, though modestly dressed, possessed a naturally appealing and delicate beauty. She seemed overwhelmed by the confrontation, shrinking back and struggling to respond. "My name is Lingrong. My father is. Perceiving her humble attire, the aggressive maiden dismissed her, becoming even more belligerent. "Can't even mention your father's position, can you?" Pressed into a corner by her aggressor, and Lingrong's cheeks flushed a deep purple, and in a voice as thin as a mosquito's she said, "My father is in Bihuai, the magistrate of Songyang County." The showy maiden scoffed disdainfully upon hearing this, her face twisted in contempt, as expected. From a humble family with no sense of propriety. Someone nearby interjected, aiming to remind Lingrong of who she had offended. "Do you realize you've just insulted Miss Xia Yuejing, the precious daughter of the military attaché of Xianfu?" Frightened, Lingrong had no choice but to bow deeply and apologize to Miss Xia. "I was merely nervous about meeting His Majesty later, which caused my hands to tremble and accidentally spill the tea on Miss Xia. I beg for your forgiveness." Miss Xia's face twisted in disgust, and with a frown she demanded, "For you to even dream of meeting His Majesty is laughable. I might let today's incident slide, but only if you kneel and kowtow to me in apology." And Lingrong's face turned pale, tears welling up in her eyes, making her appear extremely fragile and eliciting sympathy. None of the surrounding maidens dared to speak up for her against Miss Xia. Everyone was aware that the emperor was unlikely to choose a magistrate's daughter as a concubine, while Miss Xia, with her connections, stood a good chance of being selected. With such a disparity in status, who would risk offending the daughter of a military official for the sake of a mere magistrate's child? It seemed inevitable that Lingrong would have to endure this humiliation. Disgusted by this bullying, I frowned unconsciously. Seeing my reaction, Mei Zhuang held my hand and whispered a warning, "Don't get involved in unnecessary trouble." I couldn't stand by, however, and broke free from her grasp. Stepping forward, I helped Lingrong up and stood by her side. Then turning to Miss Xia, I spoke with a soothing tone. "It's just a dress, Miss Xia, please don't be upset. I have brought spare clothes, you can change into them. Today is an important day for the selection, and such a commotion might alarm His Majesty. If the emperor becomes angry because of this, it would be more than we can bear. Besides, even if His Majesty doesn't find out today, such behavior could tarnish your reputation for virtue in the long run. Over a dress, losing more than you gain would truly be unfortunate. Please reconsider."
Follow us to avoid getting lost and enjoy endless exciting stories. For more content, please go to the Story Wall homepage to view more exciting novels.